Jake Motionless says R.I.P. TFC. R.I.P. TFC indeed. Who is TFC, says the Ender Pro. He is the tinfoil chef, the one and only, who is the truest hermit of all. I've always said that. He embodies the hermit spirit. Every season just religiously branch mines, and that's his thing. And he passed away. It was sort of sudden, out of the blue, and very sad. I've been thinking, you know, TFC has talked about health issues so much over the years. It sort of just becomes a normal thing, and you forget how important health is. And I guess it kind of makes sense in a ways that eventually those health issues caught up with him. There have been details shared of how he actually passed, but I won't reiterate them myself because I'm bad at specifics and will probably butcher the explanation. Why wasn't he in any of the Hermit's episodes? Because he was the truest hermit of all. He was a hermit. He would come on, go down into his branch mines, mine for ages, and then he'd go. We'd see TFC quite often at meetings and group discussions, and he'd come by when he could, but when he came onto the server to do his thing, he would just branch mine. Here's the thing, I didn't stream for a few days because I didn't know how I was going to talk about TFC. And it wasn't until a little story popped into my head that I felt like, you know, I can get back into this because people want to talk about it. And it will be hard to sit there seeing so many questions about TFC and not being able to talk about it. Now, I am expecting that on the basis that all of my comments in my recent videos have been about TFC, which, if it's not obvious, is not a problem. That's just the situation. And so yesterday when I streamed, I was totally expecting some questions about TFC. I talked to my mods saying, hey, there's a good chance we're going to get a lot of TFC comments. And so we sort of said that this is grieving. It was like the Technoblade thing. This is people grieving. They go around the internet leaving their comments. Sometimes we get annoyed when we see something over and over again. When people are grieving, let them grieve in the way they need to grieve. So if anyone wants to talk about TFC in chat, they are most welcome to. If every message in the chat is about TFC, that is the way that we grieve. So that's why I needed to be ready in order to sit here with that, because it's been difficult, as you can imagine. And pretty much yesterday, I never spotted a single TFC message, nor did any of my moderators, or at least the moderators I've talked to. And that was very strange. Now, I think people just kind of knew, here on Twitch it's different to on YouTube, and just to leave it alone. That's what I'm thinking. But for so many people to think that way collectively is very interesting. And only now at the beginning of this one did I spot a message. I can't read all the messages in my stream, but I did notice the one just now, which was perfectly fine. And that was the first one that I've seen. For me, the way that I deal with grief, I think is unhealthy, but maybe not as well, because I'm a very self-aware person. I think about how I think. I pay attention to what's going on in my own head. So what I did on the news of TFC's passing is sort of just knuckle down into work mode. It's going to sound weird to say, but the last few days have been extremely productive for me. I have not sat around wasting time, which is probably a good response to death. Don't waste your time. But I think I like compartmentalize or something, because every now and then I would just take a moment when something would hit me and get teary-eyed and feel all the feelings, and then, you know, 10 minutes later I'd just slam the door on it and go straight back to what I was doing. That reminds me, I haven't dealt with a lot of death and grief in my life, but that is how I remember dealing with it most of the time. It's like boiling vegetables. The lid starts to rattle, and so you open it off and you let out all the steam, and then you put it on again, and then it starts rattling again, then you let out all the steam. That's just how I deal with it. I don't know if that's healthy or not, but that's just how I think I grieve. Could you share a memory about you and TFC? I will. I want to articulate myself well, so I want to get to a point in this stream where we're doing something like we're doing right now, and then I'll tell you the little story. Forgil saw one person saying something about it and wishing all the hermits the best. Yeah, it was very interesting just to see just such a large collective of people. We had over 1,000 consistent viewers, and there were probably several thousand people tuning in and out, and everyone just kind of had the respect for the space of the streamer, which is amazing to see. And I think saying it like that almost makes it sound like if you were to say something, you weren't respecting the streamer. That's not what I mean. It just, everyone seemed to know not to talk about it right now, which was very interesting. Not what I expected at all. Death is a major stressor. Most people are careful not to push their views on death. Yeah, we all know. Yeah, I guess you're saying we all have that level of respect around death. It's been an interesting thing for us to navigate because we've never had to deal with this before. And I think what we've learned through talking about it is that we're not in a structure like a team, like a football team might come together for a minute's silence to commiserate another player who's fallen. That's how that sort of environment works with death. For us, we're a big group of individuals in a creative space where our creativity is all different and unique from one another, and our creativity is tied up with our personalities, so it's hard for us to collectively agree what we should do, and there's been somewhat of a audience expectation for us to get together and do some sort of tribute for him. And I think ultimately we've realized that as much as many of us want to do something collectively, we're not sure what that should be, and we need to, I think, act as a group of individuals and do our own individual thing. We've also got something we're going to do, I think all of us, I don't know, I certainly won't be putting it in a video or anything like that, but we got a little activity prepared to spend some time together and honour TFC. And so when it comes to like grieving, we all grieve in different ways, and we just got to understand and respect that, right, and give everyone their space and the way of doing it. And this includes sometimes people grieve in, let's say, might be a bit harsh, but destructive ways. So everyone's probably heard a story about how someone goes off the rails when they grieve or whatnot. You even have to give people respect and space in those situations too, you know. We all react to this stuff differently. So yeah, let's have a chat about TFC then. I wanted to tell y'all the story of how TFC joined Hermitcraft. Do any of you know this? Are any of you Hermitcraft historians out there in the know? I'll be interested to see if anyone in chat actually knows the story. Most people are saying no, they don't. So Firelord does, so Firelord knows. It was just before I started watching Hermitcraft as a baby orca. You've been around for a long time then. A long time. I'm a pretty new Hermitcraft enjoyer, says Sunny Ferret. Yeah, so this goes back years. Guesstimating, let's see. 2011 was Season 1. So I think it would be late 2012, 2013 that TFC joined, the tinfoilchef. So the story of TFC joining our server kind of starts with Generic B leaving in Season 1, basically, because we were left without a leader, and that led to a fair bit of chaos in terms of making decisions as a group. Everything was a bit of a disorganized mess, and if you look at the history of Season 2, you will see that a lot of people both joined and left Hermitcraft. Now, Season 2 is one of my favourites, mainly because it was the first season I was a full-time YouTuber, and I was just living the dream. The dream was watching other Minecraft Let's Players, and especially the Minecraft adventures unfold on their server, and then having my own opportunity to do that myself. Despite it being such a nice experience for that reason, there was a lot of chaos making decisions as a group, and it was towards the mid to the end of that season that I decided we need leadership. When we had Generic, I might not have agreed with all the things that he wanted to do, but the fact that he was someone who could say this is what we're doing was really valuable, even when you don't fully agree with everything. And remember, we're talking about a creative space here. Disagreements on, I don't know, political or big issues, they're just creative things. You have different visions, different ways you see yourself playing the game. But anyway, we needed leadership, and I consider myself now to have some form of leadership skills. I've learned a lot, and my current role here on Hermitcraft is just to be of service to other people. I'm just trying to be as helpful as I can. When someone's got a problem with this mod, or I need help with some redstone, I just want to step up and help. But anyway, back then I felt like we needed leadership. We wanted to create a cohesive Hermitcraft lineup. I've told this story a gazillion times, but this is where it starts with TFC joining. Now, Season 2, we also had a Hermitcraft modded server, and whoever set up that server and played on there kind of agreed on who could join it. There was a group of us that had a desire for Hermitcraft to be a singular thing. And so we said, right, let's make a cohesive lineup between these servers. And so, you know, who's on Hermitcraft, who's active, looking to be a part of it going into the future, and the same thing on modded. And TFC was one of the people who was playing on the modded server. If I remember correctly, his reputation was pretty much as a mod player, not a vanilla player at the time. Although I'm sure he played plenty of vanilla. And he was one of the ones who wanted to come and join us. I always have to make this clear. It's not a problem that things played out that way. There was no ill will about it. And so we made this cohesive lineup of like, okay, we're going to, anything modded Hermitcraft will be the same as vanilla Hermitcraft, and everyone's invited to play on both, and this is our group moving forward, and TFC joined us through that moment. And he came onto the vanilla world, and he moved in just sort of a little bit away from our new communal area, and just had this massive area full of like giant portals and all sorts of cool farms and interesting stuff. And I remember hooking him up with a station on our metro line so that he had a, I think he was the only hermit that had a base on the line. So like you could travel from the different shopping areas and then you could go right up to TFC's doorstep, which was super cool. And that was how TFC joined. And then since then he's just, been a legend amongst the group doing Minecraft his way, forever branch mining. And I think TFC's, one of his best moments was Season 3 of Hermitcraft, where we had this communal area just full of all sorts of oddball type builds. And he came over there and he built a giant hairy green eyeball in the sky. It was just, like, he was looking around at us, doing all this weird crazy stuff, and he was like, I'm going to give that a go, and just came up with this brilliant build that everyone remembers from Season 3. A giant green hairy eyeball. And when people go and explore the Season 3 world, that's one of the things I think they know. Oh, I thought that was Monkey Man who built the eye. Monkey Farm had a base near the farm. It was the eye. It was down on the ground, and it was, I think it was just a little building, but it then led off to his base, which was like behind some mountains. And Monkey Farm's another legend who joined Hermitcraft, but has since kind of moved on from all of that. So yeah, some Hermitcraft history for you there. The story of TFC joining, and sadly now he's passed on, but forever a Hermitcraft legend, right? Oh, there was one other thing. I'm gonna struggle to word this because it's kind of like a personal thing that I don't want to give away too much information about, right? But let's say this, like in a moment of hardship and darkness that was really quite difficult for not only myself, but some others too. In a discussion, TFC came through. I never forget his words, and just had this short little speech about how proud he was of all of us, and like what we were doing, and it took a difficult moment and flipped it on its head. And like people talk about how he had like a great attitude and stuff, and like, I can't get into the specifics of what it was about, but it was just something that like totally shook me. It was like, wow. It showed us like how much what we did meant to him, and how much what we were doing was the right thing. And it was just this like kind of like everyone's got those moments in your life where you just don't forget that thing. And yeah, that was one of the moments we shared with TFC. And I'm forever grateful for him for saying those things, because they help so much. Because not all positivity is rational, right? But what he said was perfectly rational too. And yeah, it was just a beautiful moment. It kind of just came out of nowhere. Yeah. Crazy. Life is crazy. Like, what he said is not public knowledge, or like was not publicly aired, and it will stay that way. Not all conversations and things that happen are for everyone to know about, right? Like, sometimes things happen in life that just need to stay between certain people. And it was just in one of those moments that was difficult and dark, he just sort of came through and gave us something great to think about. And I'm forever grateful for that. And it's just like the words just echo in my head. Can we get a skeleton hug animation? I feel like we all need a hug. Absolutely. For all of y'all out there. Thanks for listening to me tell you the story of TFC. That means a lot. Korishi, thank you for tuning in. You catch a lot of the streams, but you're happy to catch important ones like this. It was important to say all of that, yeah. I needed to get that off my chest, You enjoyed the episode yesterday. Hayley Bailey, that was the first time in a long time that I made an episode in a single day. And again, I talked a little bit earlier about like being focused. Usually I break my day up a lot more with other stuff, but I just wanted to like knuckle down and do something. And I just had so much spontaneous fun, and that's what TFC would want for us to do on the servers. Just continue enjoying and doing what we do. And it reminded me a little bit of like season 2 of Hermitcraft and season 3, where I used to pump out episodes like every other day. And it's just a strange thing when that happens sometimes. There is a big influencer on YouTube that asked to join Hermitcraft, says Real Shofu. I know a lot of people asked to join Hermitcraft or talk about it. It's really weird. It's really weird because my personal like experience, adventure on Hermitcraft, however you want to word it, it started being the underdog, right? When we got started, we were no one, and we did this for the love of it. And then there was this moment in time when you realized, hang on, like we're now the server that other people talk about. When I started, it was all about Minecraft. Those were the guys that came along and sort of showed you, hey, playing together on a server is great. For some reason, like survival Minecraft players all did their own little worlds and didn't really come together. Like you didn't see a lot of SMPs, and then Minecraft switched it, and then everyone wanted to be an SMP. And there was a bunch of us who all enjoyed their stuff. We got together and did our own thing, and that was kind of the beginning of this. And we just kept doing it over the years, and it grew into something. I don't know what words you want to use, colossal. But it certainly grew into something, didn't it? And TFC was a part of that journey. TFC sounds like a nice person, says the Ender Pro. He was a great person, yeah. He was a very nice person. And one of the things that happened, like, recently... Was it last season? Season 8? There was a little bit of a... air quotes controversy or whatever about something that he had said. I made a video about it on my Xisuma Sedge channel if ever you want to go watch it. And I think his response to all of it was pretty amicable too. It just reminds me, like, what makes a good person is often how you are and how you act with others. And sometimes people's like views of the world and whatnot, or takes on whatever the topic of the day is, like that stuff is like means so little in comparison to how you treat and deal with other people sometimes. And so yeah, TFC's, an older guy from an older generation where different ideas and whatnot about this and that circulated, but like ultimately, how he is towards other people and whatnot, that's your true character. And he had true character. Your actions reflect who you are, says Real Shofu. Absolutely, yeah. Anyway, he will be missed, and I feel like I would like to just... Let's leave it there, right? I could probably talk for much longer, but I feel like let's move on for now.